Hey guys, Tyler here, and thank you for checking out my latest Marksman Hunter guide, this time for 1205/1207, and the rest of Midnight's first season. In this video, I'll give you all the information you need to succeed on your Marksman Hunter, including builds, stat priorities, rotations, and tips for both hero talents, Dark Ranger and Sentinel. With the launch of 1205, we saw yet another rework to Dark Ranger that was not well received. But over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a tuning pass or two, which has helped both specs tremendously. Marksman is currently one of the better DPS specs in all three phases of the game, making this the perfect time to pick up your bow, line up your shot, and let your arrows fly. Let's get started.
Mr. Eggplant presents.
And just like previous guides, there will be timestamps found down in the description of the video if you're looking for a certain section, as well as the build strings found in this video. And like all YouTube guides, some things can and will change. Just look for those in the pinned comment and the description of the video. And while you're down there in the description, you can also find an invitation to my Discord server and the information on the weak aura replacements I've been tinkering with using the in-game cooldown tracker. All macros I use are found over there in my Discord as well, where you can copy and paste them from the Discord right into your game. So what's new in these mid-season patches? Well, at this point in the season, you should be aware of the changes we saw at Midnight's launch, namely the addition of Apex talents, which allow our aim shot to crit 100% of the time, and the removal of key abilities like Explosive Shot, all its augmenting talents, and the streamline mechanic that were popular in the War Within. Well, in 1205, they did roll back some of those changes, like the reintroduction of Explosive Shot. Some talents in our trees were redesigned, and the half-second GCD was removed from precise shot spending. Still not a fan of that one, by the way. And if you checked out my first Marksman Hunter guide for Season 1, Dark Ranger was mysteriously absent. Well, it did launch broken and was really unplayable for Marksman, but that's been fixed with yet another mentioned rework, and it took significant buffs to our core abilities for all Marksman Hunters to get back in line with other DPS specs. I've been playing Dark Ranger exclusively since 1205 launched, and I have to say I'm really enjoying it now. Most viewers want me to tell you what to play, and I rarely do that, but Dark Ranger is currently doing better in all three phases of the game, which includes PvP, Mythic Plus, and Raid, than Sentinel. But that does not mean Sentinel cannot shine and doesn't do well. At the end of the day, play what you enjoy and stick with it, and you'll be blasting in no time. Dark Ranger isn't for everyone, but after you get the hang of it, you'll do damage that even Nathanos would be proud of. So this section is normally at the very end of my videos, but I completely replaced my weak auras with the in-game cooldown tracker, and I'm constantly updating those. I have a full 8-minute video with a link that can be found down in the description of the video, and all of my videos that will walk you through how to set them up from scratch, from start to finish. I highly recommend them, and they add so much value to my play. I had always used very basic weak auras just so they track certain buffs like True Shot, Trick Shots, and Bullseye stacks, and it can be completely customized and moved around to your liking. And before we get into our builds and stat priorities, let's take a look at our tier set bonuses for Season 1 of Midnight. They haven't changed since launch, but it's a good idea to revisit them. Our 2 set increases the damage of our precise shot procs by an additional 20%, and our 4 set gives us a chance to shoot arrows at our target and deal damage to nearby enemies when we use our precise shot procs, whether that be with Arcane Shot, Multi-Shot, Black Arrow, or Kill Shot. They're pretty straightforward and don't change our rotation at all, and the 4 pieces you'll want to use are the helm, chest, gloves, and legs. If you've seen previous expansion guides from me, I never know where to add embellishments information to them, so I'm making it a standalone section moving forward. We have 2 different options for embellishments on our Marksman Hunter in Season 1 of Midnight, regardless of hero talent choice. But if you're new to Midnight or skipped the last couple of expansions, embellishments can only be added to crafted gear through the crafting system. But unlike the War Within, embellishments get stronger with item level, because in past expansions, they were the strongest in Season 1 and then trailed off by the end of the final season.
Not this time.
Like I said, we have 2 different options when it comes to embellishments on our Marksman Hunter. Either build 2 pieces of the World Tender set, which are the Bark Class belt and the Root Slippers boots, or adding the Arcano Weave lining to a belt and wrist piece. World Tenders procs a random secondary stat for 15 seconds, and it procs a lot. And Arcano Weave Lining gives you a small amount of main stat that also procs often, upwards of 75% of the time in a Mythic Plus dungeon, for example. But the one drawback to World Tenders is that it has static secondary stats on those crafted pieces, and you can actually pick the secondary stats on the gear if you go with Arcano Weave Lining. Arcano Weave also gives a small amount of main stat to somebody else in your party if you're doing group content. They're both very good and sim about the same, with a very small edge going to World Tenders, but I wouldn't freak out about having one over the other. Up next is our stat priority, and regardless of which flavor of Marksman Hunter you want to play, our stat priority will be the same. Our stat priority will go Agility, which is our main stat, then Critical Strike, then Mastery, Versatility, and finally Haste. You'll see that Haste and Versatility have swapped positions since Midnight's launch, but Crit is still king. There's really no bad secondary stats on a Marksman Hunter, so as long as your gear has Crit on it, you should be good to go. This next section is our talent builds, and the strings for each will be found down in the description, with an additional BG Blitz PVP when thrown in for fun, and I'll always do my best to go Dark Ranger and then Sentinel. And there will be different situational picks, particularly in the general hunter side of the tree or the left sides of the tree, based on the content or fight at hand, but as long as you're picking your defensives and damaging abilities, you'll be good to go. This first build is a really solid delve/open world or questing build with a pet by your side. If you're looking for a certain pet, I have a ton of pet tame videos on my channel, and you should definitely see if you can find one that you like. My personal favorite is Jim Hyde right now, who just so happened to help me get into the Hall of Fame for Season 1 for taking on the seasonal delve boss Noleus. The second build on the screen is my Mythic Plus /AOE build, which maximizes your single target damage for priority targets and bosses while still doing great damage on trash. I personally play Dark Ranger in all situations I can, so the first build will be Dark Ranger, and the second build popping up here in just a second will be for Sentinel. There's also a popular new AOE build with Explosive Shot for Dark Ranger, but it's a little bit slower playstyle than I'd like, so I stick with my classic build, but the Explosive Shot build string will be found down below as well if you want to give it a go. And the final build is my single target build for Raid, and there's a really good mix of single target /2 target cleave fights in the Void Spire and March on Quel'Danas, and this build works nicely. And just like with the Mythic Plus builds, I play mostly Dark Ranger, which is the first build, but Sentinel shines on several different fights, including the Double Dragons and Vanguard of the Light. Up next we have our opener rotation. It's important to get the most out of your opener because it's where marksman hunters do a majority of our damage every 2 minutes during True Shot. The goal of both openers is to get a good flow going and to make sure almost all of our precise shot procs are used. They're very important in Midnight thanks to our Season 1 tier set bonuses and help you get more aim shots out during an encounter. For Dark Ranger, you'll put Hunter's Mark on the target pre-pull, then start to cast your aim shot with approximately 2 seconds left on the pull timer. Then use Black Arrow, Rapid Fire, Black Arrow, True Shot, Aim Shot, Black Arrow, Wailing Arrow, Aim Shot, Black Arrow, and so on. Black Arrow isn't a guaranteed proc after every aim shot, but in this opener, every single one of them is guaranteed when done in this sequence. After that, follow up every rapid fire with Black Arrow, and if you get a Black Arrow proc, always have precise shots up before you use it. And if you're using an Algathar puzzle box like me, you'll want to start that cast with 4 seconds left on the pull timer before you start to pre-cast your aim shot. For your single target opener as a Sentinel Marksman Hunter, you'll want to put Hunter's Mark on the target pre-pull because it's now a 3% damage buff, and then with 2 seconds left on the pull timer, pre-cast your aim shot, then use your Arcane Shot, then Volley, then Rapid Fire to start your Bullet Storm stacks, then True Shot, Aim Shot, Arcane Shot, Moonlight Chakram that gives lock and load, then use said locked and load aim shot, then Arcane Shot, Explosive Shot that gives lock and load, aim shot, and so on. And if rapid fire resets, use it while you have an aim shot charge on cooldown. And I put Explosive Shot there at the end because you may not end up using it in your first 15 seconds of your true shot window, but if it does, you're basically using it to give yourself another instant lock and load proc. Dark Ranger AoE isn't too different from its single target counterpart. In fact, most Marksman Hunter rotations are similar regardless of what you're doing. Use aim shot to get precise shots, spin precise shots, rinse and repeat. So for AoE, you'll put Hunter's Mark on a priority target pre-pull, usually like in Mythic Plus, for example, when you're running up to the mobs. Then use your Black Arrow to give trick shots, and this is basically the only time you use it without precise shots, because you're going to get another one here in just a second when you cast your Rapid Fire. Then use said Rapid Fire to stack up your Bullet Storm, then Black Arrow, True Shot, Aim Shot, Black Arrow, then drop your volley, then Wailing Arrow, and this does give you a proc of Black Arrow, but it does not give you a stack of precise shots, so I need to get that. Then use aim shot to get said precise shots, then use the free Black Arrow that you just got from Wailing Arrow, and so on. The goal of this opener is to get a ton of Black Arrows out fast, to stack up your headshot, have your Bullet Storm stacked up the whole time, and to not use volley and True Shot back to back, so you get 2 double taps in the opener as well. For your AoE Sentinel opener, you'll want to put Hunter's Mark on the target pre-pull, exactly like you did with Dark Ranger as you're running up to the pack, for example, in Mythic Plus. Then use Multi-Shot to get trick shots, Rapid Fire, Multi-Shot, True Shot, Aim Shot, Multi-Shot, Volley, Moonlight Chakram, Aim Shot, Multi-Shot, and so on. And if you get a Rapid Fire proc, make sure that you have trick shots up before you cast it and use it on cooldown. And you typically don't have enough time to add Explosive Shot into the True Shot window, so much like the single target version of the Sentinel opener, just go ahead and tack it on at the end, and then make sure you have trick shots up first, because it's going to give you a free instant cast, locked and loaded cast of Aim Shot. So now that we've seen both openers for Dark Ranger, let's move on to the rotation priority in between burst windows. So number 1, use your Black Arrow on cooldown, but only when you have precise shots procced. It does massive damage and stacks up the headshot stacks on the target, and in my build, those stacks can go up to 15. Headshot stacks increase future Black Arrow damage by 3% per stack, and they don't fall off, which is great for the longer the fight goes on. In an AoE, if there are 3 or more targets hit by Bleak Powder, which is the small burst of damage that it does on impact, you'll proc trick shots. And speaking of precise shots, you'll want to spend every one of your precise shot procs, or at least try to. They happen after each aim shot and each rapid fire if you're taking that talent, which you should be after the changes in 12.05. They reduce the remaining cooldown of your next aim shot charge and have a chance to proc another precise shots buff in the single target build. And for single target, you'll hopefully be using that on Black Arrow, otherwise on Arcane Shot. And for AoE, just like with single target, hopefully on Black Arrow, but most likely on multi-shot. And in AoE, they both also give you trick shots, which allow you to cleave. This is the hardest part of AoE for players that are new to Dark Ranger. It feels weird to play, and you really have to be reactive. But once you realize that the rotation is just the single target rotation, only it cleaves, you'll get the hang of it. From there, use your true shot on cooldown and use your on-use trinkets first, any Black Arrow procs that you may already have because it will give you another when you use it, and in AoE, have trick shots up first so you can start your cleaving. From there, use your rapid fire on cooldown. This will give you stacks of Bulletstorm and a proc of precise shots. And in Midnight Season 1, Apex talents will allow each one of those rapid fire hits to also lower the remaining cooldown of your next aim shot charge by half a second. And in AoE, make sure you have trick shots up first. And when going into true shot, try to have just used a rapid fire so you have fresh Bulletstorm stacks heading into your double tap. Next up is our hardest hitting ability, so use your aim shot so that you don't cap out on charges. Aim shot is our main ability and will be even stronger in Midnight thanks to our Apex talents, which do allow us to crit 100% of the time with it. And in AoE, make sure you use multi-shot first or Black Arrow so you can cleave thanks to trick shots. Then you'll want to use your volley on cooldown if you are taking this ability. We don't take volley for the damage, but we do take it for another proc of double tap. Both true shot and volley will proc double tap, so never cast them back to back. Volley plus double tap is a great way to set up max stacks of Bulletstorm before launching your true shot, only in the single target scenario. Otherwise, you always double tap aim shot every single time. Explosive Shot is back in 12.05, and if you're playing the Explosive Shot Dark Ranger build, you'll want to use it on cooldown. If you're using Precision Detonation, you'll want to follow up the cast with the free proc of aim shot that you get thanks to Lock and Load for maximum damage. In an AoE, have trick shots up before you cast Explosive Shot so you can still cleave with the follow-up aim shot. And if you're not taking Explosive Shot as a talent, you can simply skip this. I personally don't play this build because my group requires maximum single target damage that the Headshot build does provide. From there, we can use your Wailing Arrow as filler during your true shot when you have an aim shot charge ready to go and you don't have a proc of Black Arrow. So true shot will transform into Wailing Arrow after it's used, so you have 15 seconds to cast that Wailing Arrow. And Wailing Arrow gives you an AoE silence and a death blow proc, otherwise known as a proc of Black Arrow, and does not interact with volley or trick shots, so there is a little bit of a setup when you're going to use it. So what I do is I'll get trick shots, then cast the Wailing Arrow, then aim shot, and then use the Black Arrow proc that Wailing Arrow provided. It's a ton of burst AoE damage. And then finally, use Steady Shot as needed for focus regeneration and to lower the remaining cooldown of your next aim shot charge. If you ever find yourself with nothing to cast or nothing to do, use Steady Shot. Next up, we have our rotation priority for Sentinel, and with the builds I use in this video, you'll be able to master both single target and AoE with the same priorities. You'll just use multi-shot instead of arcane shot when spending your precise shot procs. And out of the two hero talent specs, Sentinel is widely considered much more fluid, and there's no reacting needed like you do with Dark Ranger. So number 1, use kill shot on cooldown. You won't be taking this talent in AoE, but in single target, if you can cast it, you should. It's only available when the target is below 20% health, and you should use it to consume precise shots, so have that up first. And speaking of precise shots, you'll want to spend every one of your precise shot procs, or at least try to. They happen after each aim shot and each rapid fire if you're taking that talent, which you should be after the changes in 12.05. Sound familiar? They reduce the remaining cooldown of your next aim shot charge, and they proc your Lunar Storm damage. For single target, you'll use it on Arcane Shot or Kill Shot in Execute phase, and for AoE, you'll use it on Multi-Shot. And yes, Multi-Shot does give you trick shots, which will allow you to cleave. From there, use your true shot on cooldown. The best thing to do is have an aim shot ready to go and in the chamber before you use it, and if you're in AoE, have trick shots up before you cast it so you can go right into your next aim shot cast. Then, use Rapid Fire on cooldown. This will give you stacks of Bulletstorm and a proc of precise shots. Apex talents will allow each hit of Rapid Fire to also lower the remaining cooldown of your next aim shot charge by a half second each. And in AoE, make sure you have trick shots up first, and when going into a true shot, try to have just used your Rapid Fire so you have a fresh set of Bulletstorm stacks heading into double tap. Next is our hardest hitting ability, so use your aim shot so you don't cap out on charges. Aim shot will scale well all expansion long thanks to the Apex talents in Midnight, allowing it to crit 100% of the time. And in AoE, make sure you use multi-shot first so you can cleave thanks to trick shots. You'll then want to use your volley on cooldown. We don't take volley for the damage, but we do take it for the double tap that it can provide. So both True Shot and Volley will proc double tap, so never cast them back to back. Volley plus double tap is a great way to set up max stacks of Bulletstorm before launching your True Shot, but only in single target. Stack up Bulletstorm the conventional way in AoE and then use that double tap on aim shot instead. Explosive Shot is back in 12.05, and if you're taking it in your build, you'll want to use it on cooldown. And if you're using Precision Detonation, you'll want to follow up the cast with the free proc of Aim Shot for max damage that Lock and Load provides. And in AoE, have Trick Shots up before you cast Explosive Shot so you can still cleave with the follow-up Aim Shot. If you're not taking Explosive Shot as a talent, you can simply skip this. Then, use your Moonlight Chakram as filler during your True Shot when you don't have a full set of aim shot charges because it will provide lock and load in both builds. True Shot will transform into Moonlight Chakram after it's used and you'll have 15 seconds to use the Chakram. And in AoE, Chakram can bounce to other targets and you'll have access to one use of Chakram during that True Shot window. And you'll want to have Trick Shots up before using that proc so you can immediately use the lock and load proc that Chakram does provide. And then finally, use Steady Shot as needed for focus regeneration and to lower the remaining cooldown of your next aim shot charge. If you ever find yourself with nothing to cast, use Steady Shot. In my 12.0 guide, this section was all about the items to aim for early in Season 1. Now, it's all about upgrading them. The 3 non-tier most impactful slots on your Marksman Hunter is of course our weapon and 2 trinkets, and that's exactly what we can upgrade with Ascendant Voidcores, added in 12.05. After completing weeks of core collecting for Decimus, they now reward us with more collecting. But it's at least much easier now with recent buffs. You'll want to collect 5 Ascendant Void Shards, which will combine to get an Ascendant Void Core. These cores can now be used to boost the item level of hero or myth track gear in these 3 slots, or max rank crafted gear, which is hero or myth equivalent. Using these Void Cores, Mythic Track items will have a max item level of 298, and max rank crafted items max out at 295. I would suggest upgrading your weapon first, then your on-use trinket, then your second trinket. So for me, for example, I would be boosting whatever myth track weapon I have, then the Algathar puzzle box, and then the Umbral plume. And to get these void shards, you can kill heroic or higher raid bosses, finish tier 11 bountiful delves, or do a mythic 10 or higher key. And currently, they do not have a cap that I've seen. As of me recording this video, I have made a full 2 of them, but I know others have made more. And now that 12.07 is officially here, so is the Omnium Folio. I even learned how to say it right. The Omnium Folio is the added player power, that unlocks over the next 5 weeks of quests that will be able to help us deal extra damage, eventually buff our secondary stats, and even heal us as needed for the rest of the expansion. For your Marksman Hunter, you'll want to pick up the Rune of Unleashed Fire as your core rune if you're watching this after week 4, when you can cause your rune to grant secondary stats. This rune causes your abilities to have a chance to proc a pillar of fire at your target, which is approximately going to proc 9 times a minute. And we can increase the damage of this and give it other perks later on in the tree. But if you are watching this video right as 12.07 comes out, you'll want to select the Rune of Void Touched Orbs, and then switch to Unleashed Fire like I said, after week 4. For your second rune choice, you'll either heal for a small amount, gain a decaying shield that's not really good, or even get a small amount of movement speed when hit, which does have an internal 30-second cooldown attached to it. As much as I love speed, I would much rather heal for a small amount whenever my core rune procs, so you'll want to pick Rune of Self-Healing. For your third rune, we don't get a choice. This is your Lingering rune. Think of it like a core rune is upfront damage and Lingering lingers. It's a damage over time rune. For my guide, I'll be focusing on upgrading our core rune, as Marksman Hunter is all about burst upfront damage. After your core rune does damage, it'll leave an 8-second dot that does cosmic damage. So for your fourth rune, which will be for week 4, you'll be wanting to choose between a secondary stat booster we get whenever our Pillar of Flame hits. Either crit, mastery, haste, or versatility. Crit is king on a Marksman Hunter, but mastery also works nicely here, especially if you are nearing DR on crit. This buff lasts 10 seconds and can overlap. I would select either the Rune of Critical Power or Rune of Masterful Cunning. And finally, we have our 5th rune slot. I would expect to see tuning on this before it is finally available to us at the beginning of week 5, but in this slot you can either buff the effectiveness of your core rune or your Lingering rune by 100%, or cause your core rune to echo on the target, and after 10 seconds, all the damage done by both your core rune and your Lingering rune will hit again for 50% effectiveness. For this slot, the choice is simple, and you'll want to run with the Rune of Overload for the upfront damage and consistent buffs to our best secondary stats in all situations. But again, this can change with tuning, as I'm sure we'll probably see over the next month or so. So we've done all the hard work, now let's put the cherry on top and add the final touches to our gear with enchantments and consumables. So max rank is going to be preferred, especially now that pricing is going down rapidly. So on your weapon, you pick up the Acuity of the Render Eye. For your helm, Empowered Hex of Leeching. For shoulders, Silver Moon's Mending. For boots, Saladrasil's Roots. For your chest, Mark of the World Soul. For your legs, Forest Hunter's Armor Kit. And for your rings, Eyes of the Eagle ×2. And the consumables we'll want to collect on our Marksman Hunter will be the powerful Eversong Diamond for your Thalassian Meta Gem, your diamond if you will. And for gems, you want to have one each of the Flawless Deadly Lapis, Deadly Amethyst, Deadly Peridot, and the rest will be Masterful Garnets. And like I said, those will all be the Flawless version. For your flask, I use a Flask of the Shattered Sun, which gives crit. For combat potion, Light's Potential. For your health potion, Silver Moon's Health Potion. For your weapon oil, the Thalassian Phoenix Oil, and for your food buff, I choose the Royal Roast. And last but not least, we have the macros I use on my Marksman Hunter. I don't use many, but I would recommend on adding a no channeling macro to most of your abilities so they don't interrupt or clip your rapid fire channel. And those can be found over in my Discord, which again, there is an invitation link down in the description of the video in the macro/build/CD tracker section. And that's it for another guide. Time flies when you're having fun, and I'm really enjoying my Dark Ranger and my Marksman Hunter in general after the buffs we got after 12.05's launch. Those first couple of weeks, let's not talk about that. But can we keep the momentum going? I sure hope so. And I hope you guys found something of value that you could take away from this guide, and I would love to get your feedback. I'm always striving to do something new in every guide and not try to do the same old. So what did you guys like? What didn't you like? What should I add? What should I remove? I strive to make content that you guys would like to see here on YouTube. And what would you guys like to see change with Marksman Hunters in general for future seasons? Leave me a comment down below, and I'll be documenting my progression each and every week in a video series. I think we're like week 9 or 10 now, if you guys want to go along for the ride. Best of luck to you in PvP, Mythic Plus, raiding, whatever you do in this game, and I'll see you next time in 12.1.